What do you think the public perception is then of the minority government, how it's working, and whether or not there is a sort of a plus side, an upside to the whole thing? What do you think the takeout is on the independence?
I don't reckon the public have really made up their minds yet, and I don't reckon they can, because the Parliament hasn't yet grappled with a big issue. Like, we've seen small pieces of legislation go through, but it hasn't had a big test on a big issue yet. That will happen next year, and I think people are kind of exhausted with politics and waiting to see. I think they're reserving judgment both on Labor at the moment and on the operation of a minority parliament until there's some sort of clearer evidence, and that's probably a very smart position to take.
And these independents and your Greens, when you think about it, they're very different people, and they represent. There's one from almost every state.
Yeah,
right around the country.
Yeah, it's a nice little set that you can put up on the shelf there, and it's like collecting teaspoons from every state.
I think we tend to forget that nearly every state has recently had experience of minority government that is kept there by independents. It's not such a completely unusual situation across Australia. I don't think the voters are seeing it as some kind of wild experiment in Canberra. They just want results. And Gillard's problem is that she does not have political capital. She does not have much political capital to spend. She didn't get the party in from opposition. She didn't have a convincing win. You know, she had a stalemate at the last election. Therefore, every major bill she gets through is an attempt to build up a little bit of political capital.
But then you think through, you think ahead to next year, and you wonder where that momentum will come from, because federal Parliament sits on February the 8th, but there's an election in New South Wales in March that will fairly quickly consume everything. Bad result, you would think, and then they've got a conference to deal with later in the year with some very tricky issues. It's going to be a hard year to manage.
I think it'll be a really difficult year to manage. I think it's interesting when you look at the sitting program that they've really weighted the sittings to the second half of the year, when at least they only have to deal with the Greens in the Senate and not the two independents. So they clearly, and a lot of their issues are going to take until then to be legislated in any event. I think Labor's kind of battening down the hatches for a pretty long, hard haul to get some of these policies through and to actually prove by doing that they're not a mess, as Tony Abbott keeps saying, and if they can't, then, you know, that attack by Tony Abbott has real potency, because they haven't got runs on the board. You know, they really have to prove themselves next year. They know it, and there's no easy way to do it, and they're just going to have to kind of get gritty and keep going.
And if they go into the second half of the year, then Queensland kicks in as well. There will be a lot of talk then about an approaching election there.
There's going to be a lot of political energy consumed by the two states, and on every occasion Julia Gillard is going to be made to stand next to a doomed premier. I mean,
a doomed woman premier.
A doomed woman premier, that's right. Setting the precedent there. I mean, she narrowly avoided the World Cup loss by not going to Zurich, but she's not going to avoid the losses in Sydney and Brisbane.
Yeah.
And even on COAG, just one point, I mean, that process has really slowed down. There won't have been a meeting for almost a year. There hasn't been a meeting since April. They may be able to fit one in February, but then you'd have to kind of wonder why you'd want decisions taken when the New South Wales government was about to change. They probably can't have an effective meeting till April, and it will be a full year between drinks.
You wondered why your life felt so empty, didn't you? Because
He's been living
of COAG.
It's the absence of COAG.